Welcome back everyone, my name is Danny Burke. Usually on this channel we give you guys advice. This video is kind of like advice, you just need to remember it and then do the complete opposite of everything I'm about to say. Now whether you have a job, you're looking for a job, or you're too young for a job, you really shouldn't do the top 10 quickest ways to get fired. Please don't take any of this as advice. Please don't take any of this as advice. Please don't take any of this as advice. If I say it 3 times, it will come true, right? Alright, starting off at number 10, we have lying in your job interview. This is one that can lose someone their job before their very first day on the job. If you lie to your employer either on your CV or in your actual job interview and they find out, it's a very good way to lose that job very quickly. I'm not talking about you saying that you enjoy going running when really you're quite lazy. I'm talking about stuff like applying to be a French teacher when you can't speak French.
Faked my way into a job as a Spanish teacher at a community college, relying on phrases from Sesame Street.
Although to be honest, I don't know what kind of person would give a job to a French teacher without hearing them speak French, but you get what I mean. Lying on your CV or a job interview will often get you fired. And then if you lie about being fired in your next job interview, well, it's a vicious cycle. Just remember, make sure you speak French if you want to be a French teacher. That's my drop of wisdom. Next up at number 9. As the old saying goes, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never harm me. Yeah, well, that doesn't really work in the workplace. Words can get people into a lot of trouble. Most workplaces have a zero tolerance policy on people making physical threats to any of their co-workers. The person making the threat may try and defend themselves and say, well, you know, I was never actually going to carry out the threat, it was just words, it was a heat of the moment thing, but that doesn't matter. In many countries, workplace threats are categorized as actual violence. It doesn't matter if there is evidence of intention, it doesn't matter if you have the immediate ability to carry out the threat, you basically have to choose physical threats or keeping your job. Okay, coming in at number 8 now, showing up to work drunk. Sometimes people show up to work drunk because they just don't care. Sometimes it's because they're still drunk from the night before, and sometimes it's because they might have a serious alcohol problem. Usually though, regardless of the situation, it's a quick way to lose your job if you show up to work in that state. The same also goes for any sort of drugs. Basically anything that would impair your ability to perform your job is a big no-no. Now if it's not too obvious that the person is intoxicated, then they might issue them a urine test, but if you stumble in with your shirt on back to front and collapse on your desk in a pool of vomit, a test might not be needed. Moving on to number 7 now, we have theft. Humans disagree on a lot of things in life, but most of us are on the same page when it comes to stealing. Don't do it. In the workplace there are different kinds of stealing. If you get caught nicking a paperclip, your job is probably safe. But if you work in a store that sells things to customers and you steal those things for yourself or take the money from the cash till, that's grounds for an immediate firing on the spot. If it's serious enough, your employer could even press charges, resulting in a criminal record that will make any future employer think twice about employing you. Okay, next up at number 6 now, we have not showing up. Now if this one seems obvious, that's because it is. A surefire way to lose your job is to just stop going to it. A lot of employees will try and contact you on the first day or 2 to see if anything is seriously wrong. Sometimes people do have medical or family emergencies that could leave them unable to contact their workplace in advance. If that person does get back to them and explains, everything's usually all good. But if the employer tries to contact you repeatedly with no answer, they may be forced to let you go permanently. Moving on to number 5 now, we have demanding a pay rise on your first day. Now this one might sound oddly specific, but what I mean is demanding something from your boss that is not only going to get rejected, but also shows that you have a complete lack of understanding about workplace conduct. You have to earn everything in life, and most people see a new job as a time to prove themselves, show their co-workers they will always go above and beyond and go that extra mile. The complete opposite of that would be to demand you should be paid more on your very first day on the job. A lot of employers would probably struggle to show you to the door because they'd be laughing too hard. Coming in at number 4 now, we have accidentally sending something. We've all heard the horror stories, haven't we? About people who hit send on an email or a text that was meant for their friend but ended up getting sent to the person it was about. Eesh. That may have happened to you guys. Now imagine how much worse it would be if you sent that nasty message about a co-worker to that actual co-worker and maybe everyone else that you worked with. Ouch. I'm cringing at the thought of that. If the message is particularly bad or offensive, and if it's about maybe your boss, this is probably the quickest way to lose your job using the internet. But I think the most common is actually at our number 3 spot, trash talking your job on social media. Now, we actually made a whole video just talking specifically about times when people lost their jobs because of social media. Check it out up here. I couldn't believe how many people would tweet out nasty things about their bosses, maybe put up pictures on Facebook complaining about their managers. Just don't do it unless you want to lose your job. 10 years ago, maybe you could get away with this stuff, but these days, even the least tech-savvy managers and bosses are gonna find out eventually if you insult them on social media or post a bunch of pics of you partying when you told them you couldn't get out of bed because you were so sick. Basically, if you think it might be a bad idea to post it to social media, it's probably a bad idea. Okay, we're at the number 2 spot now, and we have looking for a new job at your job. Picture the scene. Your boss or manager comes over to check on how your work is going that they're paying you to do, and instead they find you filling out an application form for another job. Now, let me get this straight. There is nothing wrong with forward thinking. Everyone in life has to look out for themselves, and scoping out jobs for the future while you're still holding down a job might make total sense. But your boss might not think the same, especially if they find you're doing it while they are actually paying you money. Chances are, if you do get the job at the new place, you're going to leave them looking for a replacement anyway, so in their mind, they might as well start looking right away and fire you on the spot. And finally now, at number 1, we have physical violence. Yeah, there was no way this wasn't going to be at the number 1 spot. Most of the things we've talked about on this list have a very high percentage chance of getting you fired, but unless you're an actual MMA fighter, physical violence against a co-worker has a 100% chance of getting you fired. It's safe to say that physical violence is not only the quickest way to lose your job, but the quickest way to just leap right over all of that and end up in prison. Earlier on, we talked about workplaces having a zero tolerance policy to even the threat of violence, and so it only makes sense that actual physical violence against a co-worker or customer or anyone really is the single fastest way to put an "un" in front of employed. Now, I know you guys probably already know all of this, I'm sure you're all decent people, but it would seem really dumb if this one wasn't number 1. Well guys, that was our list of things you shouldn't do if you like your job, either now or in the future if some of you are too young for a job. Obviously there are tons more things out there that could get you fired. Taking a dump on your boss's desk, for example. That will get you fired. But for this list I tried to stick to perhaps more common things. I really hope that one isn't common. Thanks for watching, my name is Danny Burke. Let me know if you have any good ones in the comment section below, and I'll see you all in the next video.